Hey guys, every year on August 15th, I pay a little more attention to what's happening in Japan because that's the day Japan announced its unconditional surrender. And this year, I started seeing Japan in the news again and again. A new national intelligence system, the self-defense forces calling themselves Japan Navy, cruise missiles, and then even its nuclear policy is being challenged. Well, honestly, my first reaction was, am I reading too much into this? Because fair enough, they have a perfectly reasonable explanation for every one of these. Like the intelligence agency is about countering espionage. Japan Navy was just a term used during a communication. Long-range missiles are about defense and deterrence, and the nuclear policy, well, they're just discussing it. Okay. But when all of these things start happening around the same time and they happen to involve some of the most sensitive boundaries Japan has had since World War II, I think it's fair to look at a direction. Take the new intelligence agency. I'm not surprised Japan has an intelligence agency. A lot of countries do. But why are you advertising this? I mean, it's intelligence. It's supposed to be secret. You don't exactly hold up a billboard saying, hey everyone, we are building a better intelligence operation, right? And on July 31st, that date is extremely sensitive in China and across Asia because of Unit 731. Well, Japan obviously isn't going to say, yeah, we picked July 31st because of that. But come on, you have 365 days in a year. If you know the history, you know people are going to notice, right? And then you have this Japan Navy thing. Japan's Maritime Self-Defense Force referred to itself as Japan Navy during an international communication. Or you can say it's just a name, but I don't think names are completely meaningless. Because after World War II, one of the fundamental constraints on Japan was that it could not maintain traditional military forces. It's in their constitution. That's why they spent decades very deliberately defining its military as the self-defense force, not the army, not the navy, not the air force. That language was part of the whole postwar framework. Japan's military exists for defense, not expansion. And now you suddenly want to be the navy. Are you getting a little less satisfied with just defending? Because look, the capabilities are changing too. It's acquiring long-range strike capabilities. It's testing Tomahawk missiles. Its overseas activities are expanding. And the old idea of strictly defensive defense is becoming, less strictly defensive. And now even nuclear weapons are becoming part of the conversation. Japan has its famous 3 non-nuclear principles: not possessing nuclear weapons, not producing them, and not allowing them to be brought into Japan. Well, technically, Japan still says it maintains those principles, but the political conversation around them has been changing for a while. Takaichi had already talked about revisiting the policy before becoming prime minister. And more recently, the defense minister has repeatedly argued that the country should be able to discuss nuclear policy openly without taboos. And this is the part that makes me uncomfortable. The taboo itself is becoming negotiable. Well, I'm not saying Japan is getting nuclear weapons tomorrow. I don't think that's what we are looking at. But I think we underestimate how much politics can change through language. Something can be completely off limits one year, then worth discussing the next, and eventually become a perfectly normal policy option. That's how political boundaries move. And one day you look back and realize the line has moved quite a long way. Well, my generation didn't experience the war. We didn't see the invasion. We didn't live through the destruction. But we know what happened. We know where Japanese militarism and expansion once led. And when I look at a photo of the surrender, I don't just see the end of a war. I see the end of a particular past, a past that the world had already learned in the hardest possible way where it could lead. So no, I don't think Japan is suddenly becoming the Japan of 1941, and I don't think every new policy means history is repeating itself tomorrow. But I do think if you already know where a road can lead, you probably want to notice when you see someone starting to walk in that direction again. And that's what I'm paying attention to this August 15th.